Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. Time to get off my fabric chest something I've known about for a while now, but that rarely, if at all, gets said in our lamestream media. Donald Trump is a once-in-a-century find as far as political candidates go. Yes, there I said it. Ever taken more than a cursory glance at the modern American uniparty? Ever looked further under the hood of the modern political landscape than 98% of supposed journalist panderers? Have you by chance allowed yourself to be hypnotized and mesmerized by the supposed two-party system we supposedly have in the United States of America? Shame on you then. Trump has balls. Trump has ballast. Trump frankly does not care whether you like him or not. He mainly cares to see the trajectory of this ship diverted away from the certain calamitous precipice for which it is headed, nothing more, nothing less. Even more importantly, he is and never was beholden to the corporate headmasters as so many in the modern uniparty are. And that, my friends, is why so many Americans will vote for him come November 5th. What other alternatives do we really have? But you say that we have the Republican Party to fall back on. Please. Have you taken a respectable look at the usual suspects paraded by the Republicans of late? Ron DeSantis, Mark Rubio, Ted Cruz? Neocons all, with the emphasis being on cons. What exactly is a neocon, you might ask this cloth prognosticator? Well, it sure is not what you were expecting from a political party that you may have assumed had the best interest of this nation in mind. A neocon is widely defined as one who has blind faith in the trust of market economics to self-correct, and one who also believes in spreading democracy everywhere it can be spread, and by any means necessary. Without getting into it deep, this puppet can easily tell you why these beliefs of the neocon unipartyist are widely misled and largely detrimental to the future aspirations of the United States of America. That is a truly refreshing thing about Donald Trump. He wants no part of the industrial military complex or his greedy aspirations on the world stage. No, Trump wants world peace, but not at the untenable expense of American taxpayers for all of perpetuity. In fact, it can be said that the reason the swamp wants no part of Trump is that he stands squarely in the way of them making bank if one of their hand-selected neocon puppets gets elected in. Hence the constant propaganda machine set up against him, along with the recent attempts on his life. When you hit the neocons and their corporate overlords' pocketbooks, you're hitting a bit too close to home. Tell me one single Republican or Democrat candidate, for that matter, who is not fully funded and therefore enslaved by the industrial military complex. I cannot think of one. Would we go to a former Trump cabinet member for the next presidential election after this one? If it is Mike Pompeo or Bill Barr you have in mind, no thanks. So therein lies the conundrum we are in. Trump can only legally serve 4 more years as U.S. president, and then what? What will become of this once great nation? Will we finally be sold out to woke ideology and perverse desires so many seem to want? Please pray with me for our nation, would you? Take a look at the Republican presidential candidates leading up to Donald Trump in 2016. We had Mitt Romney in 2012 and John McCain in 2008. Is it really any wonder that Barry Soetoro was twice elected, and even historically conservative states like Indiana did not vote for either piece of work the Republicans put out during those election cycles? Before those, we had George Walker Bush. Tell me that he was any better. A militaristic man with serious ties to the industrial military complex, and one who said idly by as the U.S. economy and domestic affairs went to Hades in a proverbial woven vessel. So where does this leave us, my loyal viewers, in 2028? Who will step up to bat that truly represents what is good and honorable for the people of the United States? Your guess is as good as mine. There is, after all, a solid good reason that Trump is going with a completely different vice presidential candidate this time around, and that is because Mike Pence turned out to be the treasonous traitor we all knew he was when Trump selected him as running mate in 2016. Have you, my viewers, seen anyone who Trump can legitimately pass the torch to after he exits stage left in early 2029? If so, please list them in the comments below so that each of us can possibly have our hopes raised. As for this fabric and stuffing commentator, nada. You cannot convince me that anyone on the Democratic side of the aisle is fit for a mental institution, much less the presidency or even the Congress of the United States of America. But neither can you convince me of anyone on the Republican side unless you delve into some who are not even on the current radar from many lamestream prognosticators. The ones who I do have a bit of faith in would stand behind the widespread tariffs of Trump and his very wise border wall project. Kari Lake of Arizona, yes, Kari Lake. She was forced from that state's governor's office through more illegal Democratic election stealing tactics, but her mindset and agenda would be rock solid for our nation. I've seen her platform she is running on for Arizona senator, and it aligns with the Trump agenda nicely. Closing the border, America first, bringing down Bidenomic ultra-inflation. Yep, Lake would most likely be an excellent choice to lead this nation once Trump steps aside in 4 more years. Who else? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Yes, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I said it. Formerly affiliated with the Democratic Party and having wisely exited a few months ago, Kennedy has a heart for the betterment of this nation that his uncle had in the early 1960s, and does not go for the uber-left woke garbage it is shoved down our throats by the Democrats of late. His platform is about rooting out government corruption and protecting free speech, things I am fully on board with. Vivek Ramaswamy, anyone? Let me say that he may well prove to be a valid candidate, though he has not done so to this puppet just yet. In fact, I will say he has up to this point come across largely as a Trump groupie who was basically kissing in order to get a position within the RNC or Trump's upcoming cabinet. Once we find out more about his actual beliefs and stance on the important issues, possibly, though it is worth mentioning that his Hindu religious beliefs could be a major stumbling block for far too many within the current MAGA movement. As of the time of making this video, the jury is still out on many, and I think it is well worth considering before the hour arrives when we are back to having to back the next Romney or McCain clone. Good night, and sleep well.